Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Earthly Headlines. Today, I've got some unpublished Egyptian texts that reveal new insights into ancient medicine. So some of these, I guess a lot of these texts are either currently being translated or are still untranslated and properly documented and stuff. So this article is talking about how some of these texts have been, like the first small batch of them have been translated, and they kind of go over what they talk about. And some of them are pretty interesting, what the Egyptians knew. And this comes from Science Nordic, and it says the University of Copenhagen in Denmark is home to a unique collection of ancient Egyptian papyrus manuscripts. So these are the documents that haven't been translated yet, not all of them. So a large part of the collection has not yet been translated. Texts about medicine, botany, astronomy, astrology, and other sciences practiced in ancient Egypt. This is what they were talking about. And they contain new and exciting insights into ancient Egypt that a lot of people didn't really know or care to understand. And there was just no material. I don't know why it took them forever to publish this, get this translated and published. Maybe lack of funding, or it was just sitting in a closet somewhere and no one knew about them for 60 years or so. But anyway, there are 4 PhD students working on the unpublished manuscripts in Copenhagen. And one of the first things that the translated texts reveal are kidneys. So there's this temple called the Tebtunis Temple Library, which existed before the Library of Alexandria, and there were medical texts from there. And in one of them, they reference the existence of kidneys. It's the oldest known medical text to discuss the kidneys. Until now, some researchers thought that the Egyptians didn't know about them, but we can see that they did. And then another papyrus. Well, hold on, before we go on to the next thing, the kidney thing, didn't they know about? I wonder if they knew about them just from dissection, because I know they mummified bodies. So wouldn't they have come across the kidneys before then? Or maybe this is just the earliest documented text to reference them, I guess, because that seems like a pretty obvious thing to overlook. But anyway, I would like to know the details on that. So this next one reveals insights into Egyptian view on astrology. And if you don't know what astrology is, it's the study of the stars and their alignments and how it affects people on Earth. It's largely dismissed as pseudoscience, but back then it was super important. It was an important tool for predicting the future, and it was considered a very central science. Some instances of this are when a king needs to go to war, but he wants to pick a good day to go to war, when to have a burial, when to get married, that kind of stuff. Was probably they probably factor astrology into that equation. This Egyptian material regarding science goes much further back than even the Greek and Romans. This one specific text goes back 3,500 years, and at the time there was no written material on the European continent. So the Egyptians are way further ahead than the layman thinks. I think if you do some research and you kind of look into it in a little bit more depth, that kind of becomes apparent. One manuscript described the unusual treatment for eye diseases. I wonder what that was like. What did they do though? I wish he would go into more detail. There's a text discovered in Germany of all places. Ancient Egypt of a pregnancy test and scan. Oh, this is a picture of what look at this picture of what she's working with, like these little scraps here. I mean, what? That is so little to work with. I mean, kudos to her, man. Sophie Sheet. I don't know how to pronounce that O with a line through it. But yeah, that's what she's working on. That looks like a daunting task. So anyway, this pregnant woman, the text says that here's how you diagnose, according to them, and who knows how long this goes back. A pregnant woman should pee into a bag of barley and a bag of wheat. Depending on which bag sprouts first, reveals the sex of her child. So is barley a boy and wheat a girl? Which one? I would like to know. And if neither of the bags sprout, then she wasn't pregnant. Oh, God, I wonder if that works. I hope maybe there's like a YouTube video on that or something. Or I have a friend who's pregnant. Maybe I'll ask her to do it. Just kidding. Her research reveals that the ideas recorded in the Egyptian medical text spread far beyond the African continent. That is definitely true, because a lot of these, like this pregnancy test thing, appeared again later in Greek and Roman texts, and then from there it spread further to the medieval medical texts in the Middle East, and then all the way up to pre-modern medicine. And then this specific pregnancy test was referred to in a collection of German folklore from 1699. Wow, that's a long way. That really puts things into perspective, as it shows that the Egyptian ideas have left traces thousands of years later. So this reminded me of the word idea. Someone had a few people had a lecture about how ideas they're basically entities that have some sort of intelligence, but without an organic body, and they're able to persist through time because they're passed down through written or oral traditions, and the ideas persist. And this is what I'm reminded of. These ideas are ancient ideas. These have been around for a long time, and who knows where the Egyptians got them? They must have gotten them from somewhere else. I don't know. It's really interesting once you think about it a lot further. We still have a very fragmented knowledge of the natural sciences in ancient Egypt. Therefore, every single contribution is important. Today, there are still a number of sources that theoretically were known by scientists, but still sat dormant in various collections around the world without anyone looking at them in detail. Yeah, this is really interesting too. Like I said earlier, they sat dormant like they were in a closet somewhere. In various collections world, that could also include, I'm assuming, private collections. So if you're a millionaire, billionaire type of guy or gal, and you have a private collection of, say, Egyptian stuff that you just go around to private auctions, or you hire somebody to get it for you, or however they come across them. Once you get them, that's it. You just have them on display, right? And they're kind of good for dinner parties and conversation starters. But you're not actually doing any research on it by yourself, unless you're an independent researcher who's also a collector. But that's something I didn't think about. There are probably a bunch of these things that are just sitting in a private collection somewhere in someone's villa. I don't know. Now the time has come to recognize them. I agree with that, but how? I'm sure you can. I guess you could track where everything is, but I'm not sure if they're private owners. How would you know that they own it? What do you guys think in the comments? Did you guys know about this about Egypt already? Did you know that they were the first ones to mention kidneys in any type of written text that survives today? I didn't know that until I read this. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.